One of the most important aspects of historical apologetics for the person of Jesus, for the reliability of the Gospels, is source criticism of the Gospels. The modern New Testament scholar doesn't simply quote from the Gospel of Luke or the Gospel of John. Rather, he tries to discern the sources upon which the evangelists drew in writing their Gospels. Luke, for example, refers to the many people who have tried to write an account of the things that have transpired concerning Jesus of Nazareth. And he says that having consulted these, he will now attempt to give an orderly account of his own. The other gospel writers also draw upon earlier traditions, whether written or more likely oral traditions that come to be embodied in their Gospels. This is very helpful to the task of Christian evidences, because even though Matthew and Luke probably drew upon Mark and therefore are not independent of Mark, nevertheless, the sources behind Luke and Matthew and the sources behind Mark may well be independent. For example, in addition to Mark, most scholars think that Luke and Matthew drew upon another source that is arbitrarily called the Q document, which was a source of sayings of Jesus, teachings of Jesus, rather than an account of the events of his life. And they blended the material from this source with Mark's gospel in writing their own gospels. So if you can show that something is attested both in Mark and in Q, then you're dealing with independent sources. You're not just counting the Gospels, you're looking at the sources they drew upon. Moreover, some of the Gospels are independent of other Gospels. For example, Luke and Matthew and Mark are normally thought to be independent of John. This is significant because when you find in the synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, an account of the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem, and you also find an account of the triumphal entry in John, you have independent accounts of the same event, and this can help to increase the historian's confidence in the reliability of this story. Paul then provides additional independent information about Jesus. The letters of Paul have been called a fifth gospel. In Paul's letters, you can read about Jesus' life, his teaching, his miracles, his Last Supper, his betrayal, his crucifixion, his burial, his resurrection from the dead. And this is an independent source from the four Gospels for these events in the life of Jesus of Nazareth, and therefore very valuable, especially since Paul's information is so early, so soon after the events took place. So that's what's meant by independent sources. It's not just talking about the Gospels, but it's dealing with the sources upon which the Gospels and Paul drew, which are independent of one another.